This is truly horrifying. Do you know there's a Tinder for kids? You know Tinder, the dating app, you swipe, swipe, swipe. There's a Tinder for kids. It's called Wizz. Just learned about this from The Hill. There's a whole expose on it. I think my senator, Marsha Blackburn, is leading the charge on this. Says that there is a same iconic right swipe left functionality. Swipe right, swipe left functionality. You know, yes, I want to talk to you. No, I don't want to talk to you. Same purpose as Tinder, to meet up with strangers. Only this time it's targeted at both teens and adults. What is the result of this app design? A 12-year-old girl meeting up with a supposed 14-year-old boy that Wizz connected her with, only to discover the boy was an adult male who sexually assaulted her. An 8th grader being sexually abused by a 27-year-old man, then finding out she was one of several underage girls he had groomed through Wizz. An 11-year-old girl being sexually assaulted by a U.S. Marine she met on Wizz. All of this in the last year alone. I'm reading this just straight out of The Hill. There are many more cases. When the National Center on Sexual Exploitation shared the story, Wizz reached out to us saying the New York Post's claims were false and that the 52-year-old's account was never approved. So what did? We tested the app ourselves, and our 28-year-old adult employee was easily able to create an account as a 16-year-old girl. So everyone's reaction to this is, Tinder for what? Tinder for who? Tinder for kids? How on earth did this app get approved? How is this in the App Store? Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? By the dominant logic of how we treat children in sex today. Why wouldn't it be approved? It is taught in virtually every public school in America that a child has the right to private decisions about his or her sexuality. We told kindergartners that they could pick their own sex, and the teachers would hide it from their parents, that they had an individual right to their own sexual identity, sexual expression, dating. What does it mean? To say that a child has some right to identify as lesbian or gay is to say that a child has a right to date privately outside the guardrails and supervision of the kid's parents. Right? What is it to be lesbian or gay? That very identity is oriented toward dating people. It's oriented toward sexual relations with people. Our whole culture has now said for years, decades really, that children have the right to private sexual behavior. Is said to be perfectly fine, in some cases healthy, in health classes in public schools. So why can't they be on dating apps? They're allowed to date. They're allowed to do particularly weird sex stuff. They're allowed to learn about sex. They're allowed to look at. They're encouraged to do all of these things outside of parental supervision, but they can't do it on this one particular app. They're only allowed to date people that they meet where? In school, there are already nonprofits. There are LGBT nonprofits that create chat rooms for kids to talk about their sex. Doesn't the Trevor Project do that? So I don't know. I mean, look, obviously Wizz should be illegal. And frankly, if they keep it up, they should be prosecuted. But is Tinder for kids all that different from what the LGBT nonprofits in the public schools are doing? I don't really see it. Okay. Go to preborn.com/Knowles. This Christmas season, you could change a life. You could actually change 2 lives. You picture a young woman who just found out she's pregnant, was not expecting it. She's scared. Maybe she doesn't have much support. She's not sure what her options are. That is exactly who our sponsor, Preborn Ministries, is there for. They offer free ultrasounds and counseling to women facing these tough decisions. Sometimes just seeing that ultrasound and talking to someone who cares makes all the difference. If you're looking for a meaningful way to give this year, this might be worth considering. Steve Jobs, Celine Dion, Steph Curry, all unplanned pregnancies. Maybe you were too. Maybe someone you love was. Life has a way of working out differently than we expect. When a woman is facing that difficult decision, Preborn is there to help. When a woman sees her baby's ultrasound at Preborn, everything can change. It doubles the baby's chance at life. That moment often gives her the courage to choose life. This Christmas, $28 can sponsor an ultrasound. Right now, your gift is doubled through a matching grant. To donate, dial pound 250, say keyword baby, or you go to preborn.com/Knowles. It's pound 250, keyword baby, or you go to preborn.com/Knowles. This is an organization that I personally support. I encourage you to give what you can, and you get a great tax deduction for it. Preborn.com/Knowles. Here's a big win that's flown under the radar is Tom Homan, border czar, on just a little thing that the Trump admin has done, namely save 62,000 migrant children from sex trafficking and forced labor.
I look at the numbers every day. On Friday, I looked at the numbers. There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration. Children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. President Trump saved over 62,000 children's lives. Some of these children were in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about. President Trump, again, proves why he's the greatest president in my lifetime. Over 62,000 children rescued by President Trump. Again, children that were ignored and weren't being looked for under President Biden.
62,000 migrant children. This is an important point because it comes from even the concerns on the left. Oh, won't somebody please think of the children? These poor migrant children who show up to the border unaccompanied. Yeah. Okay, you're right. There were a lot of those under the Biden administration. But their answer was, that's why we have to let them into the country. That's why we have to encourage more unaccompanied children to come into the country. What do you think happened to those kids? What do you think happened? They came in and were just immediately adopted into a loving home. And they got to sit down and have their first Thanksgiving dinner. Wow, isn't that so nice? And they get their own little bedroom and their own little race car bed. And they're totally taken care of and not at all exploited. Is that what you think happened? What would happen if you were at a public park and you were there with your kid and you walked away for 10 minutes? What do you fear would happen? You fear that someone would take your kid or victimize your kid in some way, right? 10 minutes unaccompanied at a public park in America. What do you think happens to these kids who are hanging out with the cartels in Mexico and then who are smuggled into the United States with no document trail? What do you think happens to those kids? What do you think happens to like most of those kids? There was a study came out, this is a long time ago now, even before these really hot migration debates. It was 2006, 2007, said that, it was from Fusion and Amnesty International, reported in the Huffington Post, 60 to 80% of girls who cross the border illegally are raped or sexually assaulted along the way. You think it was once? There's a great point from the Trump administration. Even on the left's own terms, the necessary implication of unaccompanied children at the border are that these kids are being exploited for their labor, sexually exploited. It's a necessary implication. And to encourage that to continue is to encourage the abuse. I enjoyed that clip. I enjoyed bringing it to you, and I think you enjoyed receiving it from me. And if that's true, then what I am asking humbly and modestly is that you like and subscribe so that you'll get more of them. Is that too much to ask? I don't think so. I think it's appropriate. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye.